the shortness of breath.
Okay, shortness of breath. All right. That shortness of breath is always there. Okay, so these breathing patterns bring out a lot of things. One is, how are you breathing? If you're breathing up here as opposed to here, it's a problem. Because breathing here maps onto anxiety. Your brain doesn't know the difference. So if you are moving your chest up here, your brain, your cerebellum automatically goes fight or flight. You know why? Because these are accessory breathing muscles. And evolutionarily, you are meant to use them as an accessory to breathing, which is when you're doing what? Running away from a saber-toothed tiger. That's the time to use these. If you're sitting at a desk like this all day, on a phone, driving like this, what are you doing to your diaphragm? Can it move? Yes or no? No. You have to breathe here. So now all of a sudden, I'm on the phone and I'm dealing with all this aggravation all day long. So everything about it maps onto anxiety. Everything about it maps onto these problems that we're talking about. So guys, breathing, first thing in the morning, get it right. Hold on. And it's a skill. Breathing, like anything else, like meditation, is a skill. You can either choose to get better at it, or if you don't, please don't expect something different in how you feel. Right? That makes sense. Keep doing the same thing and keep getting the same thing. I'm making the strong argument that how you start your day, right? How you start your day, how you breathe, how you prepare, the supplements you take, the showers you take, vagal nerve stimulation, the exfoliation, the feeling that you have when you're doing the niacin flush to upregulate blood flow to the brain, which we know in people who are depressed need more blood flow to your brain. The hitting the cold water on your face to stimulate your vagal nerve, to do your breathing patterns and your stretching work, to release the psoas from the diaphragm. There's nothing that I haven't said here that's not anatomically correct or biologically correct. But if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same thing. Now, how can I make this even better? Here's what I do. I take a red light, okay, which we're not going to have time to get into, and I shine it right there with my exposed skin while I do my breathing work. Okay. I also have red. I also have. Okay. So. Yeah, bringing up my little meditation kit. So this is the orange sheet which I wrap myself in. So I feel the fabric on my skin, right? So I feel this wrapped around. Why is it orange? There's a symbol to that. You'd have to attend the meditation seminars. I use orange scent, right? I like the smell of orange. Why? It's all about association. It's all about association. It's all about association, so that I can have a memory throughout the day of this experience, right? To create a memory throughout the day. So when you use a mantra, it's about the mantra. It's about remembering the mantra. If you do a guided meditation, there are things that a good guided meditation will give you to remember. And that could be something as simple as just feel your feet on the floor. Just feel your feet on the floor. Just feel the feet on the floor. Or just pay attention, exquisite attention to the breath. It's all the same thing. There's nothing magical about a mantra. There's nothing magical about feeling your feet on the floor. It's about getting you into the present moment instead of whatever's happening now. And if you're like me, who needs all the help he can get, right, I'm going to take it. Now, here's another thing I do. Talk about vagal nerve stimulation. You see how bright that red light is? This is a very bright red light. It used to be like over $1,000 a couple of years ago. You can get it for like $150 on Amazon. Take the red light. Why am I doing that? Insane vagal nerve stimulation. Okay, take that red light. Where's most of your dopamine created in your brain? Right where I'm shining that light. Okay, 60 seconds. That's it. Just as long as you can. You want the benefits to that? I'll put it onto all the red light therapies being studied by this guy at Harvard University. Kind of a good school. I will put the red light therapy stuff with the guy who's the head researcher at Harvard doing all, and there's many people with red light therapy benefits, but I will put that all in the newsletter. I want to finish up to get you guys out.
Is there red light in the sauna? That's not.
No, it's different. It's different. The heat.
After the breathing?
This I like to do right before the breathing. Yeah, but right before the breathing, just to get vagal nerve stimulation, then breathe, okay? Then, after I finish up, okay, then, Kenny talked about a little bit, then I take something to read or recite. Something to read or recite that has what? That has some type of positive message, okay, that has some type of thing that I can take forward. I choose Shakespeare, okay, which many of you know. I choose to study and memorize Shakespeare sonnets. So I'll sit there and I'll recite a few, right, and I'll try to learn a few. How I spend a lot of time. I'm not asking you to spend a lot of time, but if you have a paragraph or two that makes you feel good, that you read afterwards, or a book that of quotes that make you feel good, this is the time to do it. Because you can cultivate gratitude, you can cultivate interest in this moment. Because right now you are the most vulnerable at this moment. You are the most present. And that is the time to cultivate that feeling in your body. So now, this whole thing, if you add it up, takes 30 minutes. That's it. Now you can make it longer, but it's 30 minutes to do what I am arguing is really the one thing you can do, right? To move forward and change your day. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to how to go to sleep, okay, which is another thing. But I'm giving you pearls here, right? If you start your day this way, all right, you do it for the next 3 weeks, almost all neurotransmitters will adapt within 3 or 4 weeks. Almost all. Give it 3 weeks. That's right? Would you say that's accurate? Almost all will adapt within 3 or 4 weeks. You will wake up and you will feel like you can't wait to do it. Beth.
What's the name of the flashlight thing?
I'm going to put it all in the newsletter for you guys.
So I just wanted to say when you do the meditation that you should focus on your stomach because I think that's important.
Huge.
So if you're doing that, just really think about how your stomach is
Exactly.
breathing, nothing else. So when you say concentrate on your breathing,
Yep.
I concentrate on how my stomach is
Exactly.
involved.
It's got to be diaphragmatic breathing.
That may help.
Any other questions? If you want to ask me or Jordan more questions, we'll stick around for the next 10 minutes. And but otherwise,
Nice to hear from Jordan.
yeah. Well, it's just too much info. But this is what always happens, right? I used to run 2-hour seminars for a reason. I try to make them short to accommodate everybody. There's just too much information.
The lion's mane.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. So the lion's mane is a type of mushroom, and it's a mushroom that has these chemicals in them that can increase things called nerve growth factor and BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And both of those help the growth of new brain cells, and they can help, already alter what's there, so increase synaptic plasticity, stuff like that. So when you're doing practices like this, it's like that's what you want your brain to be in. You want your brain to be in that state where it has these high levels of these chemicals.
Lion's mane you can get as a supplement. There's what Paul Stamets company's name.
Yeah, it's
Remember?
called Host Defense.
Host Defense. This guy, Paul Stamets, is really the world's leading expert on all mushrooms, but his company is a very reliable source to get it from, hostdefense.com. Other questions?
It's a type
Mushroom.
of mushroom. Yeah, it's a mushroom. So it has these different chemicals in them. They're called terpenes, and these terpenes increase nerve growth factor in your brain and BDNF in your brain, and both of those chemicals help grow new brain cells. Grow new brain cells. Yeah.
So I've been doing that for a while. Yeah.
Any other questions about anything? Well, you can ask me at Grandma's. Any of you guys, any other questions?
I just
Jim?
want to know what is the relationship between dopamine and serotonin? How is it good, and how do I maximize that relationship
Okay.
if it is in fact?
Before Jordan answers, I will just tell you that when it comes to hormones, it is amazing how much science doesn't actually know. It's also amazing how, especially serotonin, is implicated in many, 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 many things in the body. Okay, so just let's understand that. And the reason why I chose dopamine is because it really does easily map onto certain behaviors and how you feel. Serotonin is a larger looming story, but why don't you just talk a little bit
Yeah,
about?
so the serotonergic pathways in the brain are really complicated compared to dopamine and norepinephrine. And there's actually receptors that when are activated, so serotonin receptors that when they're activated will decrease dopamine release. So generally the higher your serotonergic neurotransmission is, the lower the dopamine neurotransmission will be. So that's generally, it's like an inverse relationship. The higher, but it doesn't work the other way. So if you have very high dopamine, it doesn't antagonize serotonin. And the way, I guess, to overcome that antagonistic effect of the serotonin on the dopamine is just to make sure that you're not a person who has low dopamine in the first place. If you have high dopamine, it's not necessarily bad that the serotonin signaling is lowering your dopamine.
Just a quick question, I always wondered. Is there any blood test that you can take for serotonin and dopamine? That's
Not really. There's
You can't serotonin.
Yeah, they guess because the blood markers for serotonin and dopamine metabolites don't really correlate well to what's in your brain.
Remember, serotonin is dopamine is a very short half-life. So what's
Yeah.
more important is what those neural synapses are doing. And again, with just in general, guys, and you guys know this, in general, most blood work for most things is a snapshot in time. Unfortunately, there are certain things that are good, like D3, for example. That's going to be a very reliable thing on your blood work. But even things like LDL, which we've talked about, that's a snapshot in time. I gave you guys the example of, you're in traffic, you're running late. Oh my God, I got to go get this blood work. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm in this waiting room this long. Oh my God, I'm petrified of needles. And that just hurt. That just raised your LDL. Not a little bit, significantly enough that 10, 20%, depending on who you are. And why? Because because glucocorticoids raise LDL, everybody. The reason why your LDL is raised is mostly because you're stressed out in some way. Next time we just talked about emotional stuff. Wait till we talk about the physical stuff of what this is doing to your body. Meaning, what happens to the physiology of your body, the physical things that are happening, pain and all these things, what happens there? We're just talking about how you feel today. Make sense?
Does the 23andMe then show that?
23andMe will give you genetic SNPs for what? Serotonin and it'll give you. So what we'll do, because CompT, I'll talk about it in terms of physical pain, which will be a more interesting concept next time. We could talk about it emotionally as well, but we'll talk about it in terms of physical pain next time because it's an interesting thing to talk about in that context. And there, you would have the framework to talk about what it's doing to adrenaline and all these things in that regard.
what happens if you're on medications? Obviously you should get it okay by your doctor.
Okay. So let's do this real quick, because you're really just itching to talk about blood pressure, right? So here's something, and this is my biggest problem here. Okay, what happens with most people when they're taking blood pressure? Let's see if I could.
Blood pressure medications?
Yeah.
Well, I can't take it because every one that I've taken, I've had serious side effects of it, like depression, anxiety.
So depression, right? So what do we just say that we know people that are depressed, what do they have? Smaller hippocampus, okay? Depression is the slowing down of the brain just in general. And a smaller hippocampus, okay, is correlated with depression almost all of the time. Now, what do you think beta blockers do to the blood flow to your brain?
That was the worst one.
So again, just listen to what we're saying here, okay? So again, how can you possibly fix this problem by giving it another problem? Or does it make sense? We know for a fact that a small hippocampus and blood flow issues will map onto depression. Therefore you now take a beta blocker for your high blood pressure, which will now make you feel even more what? Depressed, right? And so what will your body try to do? It will actually try to raise blood pressure. Well, your body is smart. It's trying to get the blood there, right? So again, the context of a question like this is an interesting one. But understand that when we medicate certain things and we don't understand, the downstream effects on the physiology of a body, it's a bad system. I'm trying to give you a good system. I'm trying to say, let's start here. Let's recognize what this 15 minutes or hour really means and how it can map onto all of these things. And my guarantee would be, within a month, if we really give the synapses and the neurons in the brain time to evolve, upregulate, downregulate, that this can really make the largest change. Because contrary to popular belief, high blood pressure is not as big of a deal as people think. Okay, high blood pressure, along with high VLDL, along with being obese, along with all, then that's a problem. If your blood pressure is just high, I wouldn't be that concerned about it unless all of your other stuff is also very, very high, right? But if you have a normal body weight, if your VLDL is low, if your HDL is high, I wouldn't go crazy about what your blood pressure is doing. Practice these things and see what happens over time.
We've talked, it's not just data.
Yeah, because we can get into the whole white coat syndrome. We can get into the white coat syndrome, how you should really take your blood pressure. You need to take your blood pressure after meditating. See what your blood pressure is. Then tell me you have high blood pressure. Other questions? All great stuff, guys. Thank you for coming today. I will put this out in 2 different parts, and I will put in the red light therapy stuff as well as the other research in the videos. Thanks for your time.